The first thing to note that this is a warm-up tool, and treat it just as that, as a tool to get better. I don't want you guys feeling like this is not of how fast can I throw this, it's about how well can I warm up using the plyo balls. Okay, there are weight to them, and I want to use the weight effectively instead of ineffectively, right? So we're not velocity training with these, even though you are probably getting stronger throwing them a little bit. Use them more as a warm-up tool. Okay, with that being said, what we're trying to avoid this year is terrible arm slots or bad arm slots, and we want to fix those. What do I mean by bad arm slots? So on our break or separation of hands, so a lot of guys are getting stuck down under into their lat. Okay, when we break and get stuck down here, what oftentimes happens is a shift forward with your weight distribution, and then this becomes a drag or a push, right? And then I want to eliminate that. The other piece is sometimes we'll break our hands and we'll get stuck behind here, okay? And then the weight distribution comes forward, and then this gets into a launch position, a drag position. It's really terrible for your anterior shoulder. Your biceps tendon, you're going to get inflammation, you're going to have shoulder problems in the anterior side. And then also it could cause some issues if your teres minor, your posterior cuff is not strong enough to handle that type of throw. You can have some posterior cuff tears as well to go along with that. So you want to eliminate that. With that being said, instead of working from, in the past, what we tried to do this fall was get you into arm spiral better or more freer. A lot of guys aren't able to reach that. So what we're going to do is work from a high W frame. Okay, so the elbows even or elevated above the shoulder line is what I'd like to see. When I'm developing pitchers, I don't really get too hung up on where I'm throwing from in terms of arm slot, right? As long as we're keeping the elbow position in correlation with the shoulder joint, even or above. So you can have a lower 3/4 arm slot and still pitch okay. That's fine if that's where you're at, or a higher 3/4, right? So we want to be mindful, where are we setting the elbow in the shoulder line, okay? So we're going to have 6 core elements to our plyo ball throws. The first one's going to be our reverse throw. When we're working in the reverse throw, it's going to be simple. You're working from the base, in a knee position. You're going to try to work to stabilize your front knee, and then work behind you in a natural arm slot. Okay? Just free it up. Have the eyes kind of follow your ball through, catch it, and return. Simple, easy. We're just opening up the lat and the backside of your shoulder. When we get to the anterior throw, on our front-facing throw, this is where your high W is going to come into shape. So we're going to be here. Try to set it back into your scapular bones. Set back. We're going to just go into rotation and throw through or up just above the headline just a little bit. Okay. Make sure we're getting extension through flexion on the release point, and then pulling down through that at that point. The third point, or the third exercise, we were doing lawnmowers. You're familiar with that. We're going to eliminate the lawnmower position with it, and we're going to work from the high W frame. So you'll go into your reverse pivot, in, and then we're going to anterior side here, and then throw through the wall, catch, return, back into high W, pinch, and back through. Okay, so that's form number 3. Number 4, we start going into mechanical forms in terms of pitching. We're going to start from a finish drill position, which is a separation, a separate stance. And then, so elongated here, what I'd like to be is on the balls of my feet from the back end, working into a good stride position, right around a 120 on the front knee. So anything more or less is probably a little bit more or overdone. We want to keep our chest position or core, which is your hips, your abdominals, your glutes. We want to keep them back set and keeping strength in the back leg. Chest will work upward, slight arched in your lumbar spine into your back. We're going to work back up into W, and then on your glove side, if you want to close the gap here, that's fine. The idea of this is to pretend that there's a wall, imaginary wall that's running here, And I want to keep everything I'm doing from leaking out to the left side or right side, depending on what handed you are, into that wall. Everything's going to work in a straight line. As you go through flexion and release, I want you to watch the correlation, the relation with my front knee. As I go to reach, I bring my leg into a blocking position. I'd like you to try to get to that point where we're extending that throw over our front foot as far as we can, or as best as we can. Make sense? Yep. Simple, just a nice easy jot. Make sure the elbow's elevated, and then work through the wall, working in a maintaining straight position. Good? Okay, number 5. We used to call these scarecrows. We're going to change that up to more of a power position. When I talk about power, we're talking about power from the base and then power from our upper body. In separation, it's slightly outside of your hip width, slightly bent in the knees, back with the hips, and then your chest will reside up front or forward just a little bit, keeping your chin over your abdominal line. When we have that, and the reason I'm eliminating the scarecrow thought process or scarecrows behind this is when you look at a scarecrow hanging on a wall, what do you see? Okay, this is a really tough position to visualize and pitch from, right? This would be a stuck position. It's hard to get into arm spiral coming out like this. It's very uncomfortable, and I don't think it's a good way to pitch from. So what I'd like to see from that is right around, so if we're at 90 here, I want to get down to about a 120 and then work into your scapular sets, right? And then there, we're going to work into our load point, back down into your tap from your front leg. At this point, we're going to work on a little bit of degree of separation from your hips and your shoulders. And what I'm talking about is when we go forward and taking the hips forward, there should be separation from the shoulders. Everybody see the pull, right? But I'm still maintaining structure from my elbow position, from my glove side position, and from my arm side position, okay? The greater degree of separation that we can get from our hips and our shoulders, the greater velocity event we'll have from the throw or the release of the ball. The faster or greater degree that we can spin the hips forward as we go in approach to home, the greater degree of velocity we're going to have on our throw. And when I'm talking about hip spin is from here to here. How fast can I rotate my hips and my spine through? So on the drill, once we get down from tap, I also want to work the relationship between the back leg in rotation, the back hip in rotation, and the ball getting into 90 position. So here's your overlay, here. Separation, then into rotation extension through your throw. Try to break that down in pieces versus trying to rush through your throws all the time. Treat it as a warm-up, not just in the throw, but also in the lower half and how we want to position ourselves in the mound with our timing and presentation of the pitch. One other point when we're working through these drills is I see a lot of knee drop forward, okay, and we're losing power down into the mound instead of keeping our chain connected up and out from the mound into the catcher, right? And one way we're going to do that is by staying strong in the back leg on our approach to home plate, right? It doesn't have to be this degree. It has to be something that's comfortable for you to maintain as we approach our pitch off the mound. Stabilized leg, then work up from rotation out to your pitch. Going into the low balance drill after your separation drill, simply we're just going to come into a single leg stance and we're going to work back into a chair as much as you can handle from a quad perspective and from your glutes. Once we have this maintained, what we want to do is make sure that our knee is not going forward past our toe point. That would be an energy leak down in the wrong direction. We're going to want to take all our strength and energy going forward towards the catcher, towards the target. By doing this, slightly invert the toe and then work the hip forward. As we're going in, you're going to have your hands from set position. We're going to work the relationship between the front arm and the lead hip, and the timing on approach to home are the same. Okay? On the break, timing of position break through the throw. So break these pieces down. Work to stabilize your back leg a little better, right? Work for different ranges of motion in through the throw and greater degrees of separation. As the more we do this, the better we're going to get on the mound, the more accurate we're going to become, and the harder, better thrower we're going to become. We're going to go through a 2-ball on the next. High arm elevation. We're going to do a 2-step back. So as I draw back, left to right, or right to left, we're going to draw a high line into arm spiral. Work through, similar approach on the second, and then stop through. Maintaining structure, going through, square through the target. You can also do a different variation of that, which would be a step back to step forward. So it'll be a 1, 2, through, 1, 2, forward throw. Either one works for me. The thing is, I don't want to get sloppy or rushed. We'll keep our reps minimal until we get through these and get stronger with the position. Last one, somebody throw me a red ball. It's your spike down throw. This is working acceleration from your spine and your shoulder into the throw. What I'd like to do is maintain a tighter arm position here. A tighter, higher elevation and a tighter arm. I don't want the arm to leak out and drag. We're going to go into a single leg RDL. We're going to jump up, work into rotation, down through acceleration as our front foot hits the ground. Up, accelerate. Okay, working arm speed, strength through our throw, getting it just a little more in tune, getting ready to throw a baseball, right? Everybody's good? Any questions? All right, thanks guys.